Hello everyone. Let's read the rest of the chapter today. This is lesson 9, Phaethon and the Chariot of the Sun, and this is part 2. Here is the short recap of the story so far. Phaethon was a boy who was proud of his father Helios, the sun god. To prove this to his friends and himself, he begged Helios to let him ride the sun's chariot across the sky. Chariot means a carriage pulled by horses. This is the chariot. Helios warned him that it was a very dangerous task, but Phaethon insisted. Finally, Helios agreed, and Phaethon climbed into the chariot and tried to control the powerful, fiery horses that pulled the sun. But was he able to control them? Let's read further. So Phaethon says, "Oh no, the chariot is too close to the earth. I wanted to show my friends that I could drive the sun chariot, but I made a big mistake." The hot sun dried up oceans and rivers and left deserts in their place. So here Phaethon cannot control the horses or the chariot. Sometimes it goes too close to the sky and sometimes it comes down too near to the earth. This causes the land to become very hot, and plants and people are suffering from the heat. The hot sun dried up ocean and rivers and left deserts in their place. It means because the chariot went out of control, the extreme heat dried up all the rivers and seas. The land became empty and dry, turning into deserts, places where very little water is found. Let's read ahead. The runaway chariot tore across the sky, burning a trail behind it. This trail is called the Milky Way. Here Phaethon thought to himself, I have to take the chariot back up into the sky somehow. High on Mount Olympus, Zeus, the king of the gods, saw what was happening in the sky. He hurled a lightning bolt at the chariot. How rashly Helios is driving the chariot! Is he asleep? I have to wake him up. But the chariot tilted, and Phaethon fell out and plunged into the river Po. So the story says that when the runaway chariot zoomed fast across the sky, runaway chariot means the one that is out of control. It tore across, means it moved hurriedly across at a high speed. So while moving, it left a trail behind. Trail means a series of marks left by someone or something as they move along. So it made a shining golden path. The path left behind by the chariot is called the Milky Way, which is actually a bright band of stars in the night sky. And what happened next? Zeus, the chief god living on Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus is the home of the gods in the Greek stories. So Zeus saw the earth was in danger. He thought Helios was the one driving the chariot rashly. Rashly means carelessly. To protect the world, he used his most powerful weapon, lightning, his thunderbolt, a magical lightning bolt, to stop the sun chariot. He hurled the lightning. Hurled means threw with great force. After Zeus struck the chariot, it became unsteady or tilted. Tilted means moved to one side. Phaethon lost his balance and fell out. Plunged means fell downwards at great speed, dropping into the river Po. River Po is actually a famous river in Italy. Then what happened next? Zeus now had to complete Helios' task. He called his winged horse, Pegasus. Together they caught up with the sweating horses. Go, Pegasus, let us bring the sun home. Zeus was in a raging temper. Then he found that it was young Phaethon who had been driving the chariot. He immediately started a search for him. Hermes, my son, go and find poor Phaethon. Search for him around the river Po. So, as Zeus believed that Helios had driven the chariot recklessly and thus zapped him, means struck him with lightning, he was then obliged to fulfill Helios' duty. He summoned his winged horse Pegasus. Together they caught up with the sun's chariot and its sweating horses. Zeus then said, Pegasus, let us bring the sun back home. So Zeus was in a raging temper. Here it means that he was furious upon learning that it was not Helios but rather his son Phaethon who was driving the chariot. His anger subsided. He promptly means immediately initiated a search for the young Phaethon. He then instructed his son Hermes to locate the unfortunate Phaethon, specifically directing him to search around the river Po. Why? Because Phaethon had fallen into the river Po. But Hermes could not find him. No one saw him ever again. Perhaps he had survived, but he was hiding, ashamed. Perhaps he had died. Phaethon's sisters were heartbroken by his death. They stood by the river Po and wept. Taking pity, Zeus changed them into poplar trees. There they stand and protect their brother to this day. So here we see that Hermes was unable to locate him. He couldn't find him. No one ever saw him again, which was truly a sorrowful event. It's sad, right? It is possible that he survived, yet chose to hide out of shame. He may have felt embarrassed for not being able to ride the chariot as he had boasted to his friends, or alternatively, he might have died, perished. The truth remained unknown because no one ever saw him again. Phaethon's sisters were devastated by his fate. They were crushed as they loved him deeply. They stood by the river and wept. In a gesture of compassion, Zeus transformed them into poplar trees. There they stand, protecting their brother to this very day. As I mentioned, it is merely a mythological tale. Therefore, don't try to seek a scientific explanation for the events happening within the story. Okay? Nevertheless, it is quite captivating, is it not? Now that you have enjoyed the story, let us look at the book exercises in the next part of this chapter. All right?